Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another Spooktober episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is JD. Who's here with me?
It's Michelle.
It's Spooky Shell.
Spooky Shell.
No, that doesn't sound right. No, I think we're
no,
gonna.
definitely.
That one
Chili
came and
Shell?
went that quickly.
Yeah.
So we're back.
Fine.
Yeah. We're back for another back catalog title as we make our way through October here in the first Halloween season in the history of We Watch Shudder. Instead of the up-to-date, most recent releases, we're going back and checking out older titles that we didn't get to talk about because they came out before the podcast started. Today, we are talking about Color Out of Space, directed by Richard Stanley, adapted from the story written by H.P. Lovecraft. We're just going to dive right into this here. I'm going to do like I always do and read you the description of the film straight from the Shudder website. After a meteorite lands in their front yard, Nathan Gardner and his family find themselves battling an extraterrestrial organism as it infects their minds and bodies and turns their lives into a living nightmare. Nicolas Cage stars in this mind-expanding cosmic horror, a Shudder exclusive. Michelle!
Yes.
Do me a favor, tell me all about your spoiler-free thoughts on the H.P. Lovecraft adaptation starring Nicolas Cage, Color Out of Space.
My spoiler-free thoughts are, first off, alpacas, I agree, they are the animal of the future. That is a very important point that this movie makes. Secondly, the fact that they spell color without a U was very surprising to me. This seems like the kind of movie that would spell it C-O-L-O-U-R, and I was very upset when I found out that they did not.
Well,
Aside from that...
Also, they dropped the article at the beginning. It's the story itself is The Color Out of Space, and this movie is very specifically Color Out of Space.
That is so upsetting. Aside from that one criticism, this gets a 5 skull out of 5 skull. Oh my god. I cannot believe how much stuff I forgot was in this movie, and then as I rewatched it, I was like, oh yeah, I think about that scene all the time. I think about that scene all the time. I think about this all the time, and I did not remember that they are all from the same movie. This movie is incredible. It is a must-see for horror fans. It is so good. I can't say very much without getting into spoiler territory.
And that's coming up.
Oh my god, I love this movie. So 5 out of 5. It's great.
Hey, I wasn't prepared for this, but at least as of this recording, May 25th, 2022, we have our first mutual 5 skull movie, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah!
Color Out of this movie is phenomenal. I love everything about it. Nicolas Cage is pitch perfect as wacky Nicolas Cage. This movie, it feels like it was made for him, right? Because this character, his very overt, aggressive acting style fits this character's story arc perfectly.
Yes, his extreme acting style, this movie would not be the same without him, and it is perfect for him.
Yeah, it's got awesome, just weird, tense, spooky atmosphere. It's got fucking phenomenal body horror that just messed me up for a while in all the best ways. Color Out of Space. Also, by the way, in my opinion, so far as, look, there have been quite a few movies throughout the years that have attempted to adapt H.P. Lovecraft to the screen. And the main issue is Lovecraft wrote mostly very short fiction, right? And so to turn a lot of that stuff into feature films tends to require a decent amount of extrapolating and adding your own stuff. This is one of the very best, most successful H.P. Lovecraft adaptations I have ever seen. Very faithful to the original story while maintaining its own identity and uniqueness. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about this movie. The entire cast is fantastic. Yeah, this one is awesome.
A perfect 5 out of 5 skull score,
Color
and
out
it
of
it
space.
deserves it. It
Yeah.
really does.
Well,
Should
on
we get
that
into
note,
spoiler? Yeah.
yeah, on that note, guys, as we do, if you want to go see the movie now, and I have to believe that if we've both given it 5 skulls out of 5, there's got to be somebody out there who's like, I need to go watch this before we.
Yes.
Before
Do not
we
let us spoil it for you.
Right.
Watch
Go
it.
see the
Watch
movie.
it.
This is your pause before we get to the spoilers. Hit that pause button right now. All right. So I don't even I don't even want to fuck around. Let me just get right to the mess of this. What the fuck with the little boy getting melted into his mother's back in a weird fucking body horror monster creature? Holy fuck, this movie blew my goddamn mind.
I was trying to, now that I'm seeing it for a second time and I knew we were going to be reviewing it, I was trying to be more analytical about it and like, why does this work? And I realized that movies where you are helplessly watching somebody suffer and can't do anything are much more effective than a movie where the lead character, you're seeing it from their viewpoint. So if this had been a movie about like the mother and about her and it was centralized around her and bad things happening to herself, that is less effective than watching this family having to deal with this monstrosity, and they're helpless and we're helpless as the viewer, but how much pain they're in. Like, that is so effective, the way that they delivered it, where we can't do anything and it is the worst thing possible is happening.
Like, there's to make a real horror nerd metaphor out of it, Dario Argento made a movie in the 80s called Opera, which is famous for a particular gimmick in which the killer in that movie forces other people to watch him murder people, and he does that by taping needles to their eyelids so that if they close their eyes, they'll plunge those needles into their eyes. Like that, the idea of that experience is kind of like what this, like, I could not turn away. I was absolutely like riveted into this movie, but it's, oh man, some terrible shit happens to these people. It is intense and it's sticky and gross in all the most fun ways. It's so sticky. Man, it's going to be hard for me to make any clear, like, concise points in depth about this movie because I just had so much goddamn fun with it. It was an overwhelming experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of good dialogue, which I will get into in 1 second because I wrote down some of my favorite lines. But I do have to say, like, just, let's say it didn't go batshit crazy to the wall, which it does. Like, it goes out there so far. And also, kudos to the little boy as an actor, because
that kid was great.
That is unheard of like torturing a little boy in a movie like that is not something you see very often, and this kid delivered. Good job. Maybe he like knew somebody who was glued to their parent in a mucus matter, becoming some sort of horrible creature, so he had that real life experience to draw from, because he did such a great job. But even so, like, just the little movie moments in this are so good, and one that comes to mind is when the mother, whose name I've forgotten, but she is the woman from Nip Tuck, and I will never see her
Jolie
as anything else.
Yeah, Jolie Richardson is the actress.
Yes, so there is a scene near the beginning where she is chopping carrots. And I know how you feel about finger stuff, but it's the methodical chop, 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 and your heart starts beating to that.
Oh, and they show it to you.
Brilliant.
Yes. They give it away, and they make you just sit there and wait for it.
And that's what this whole movie is. It's just so, like, they just give you the tension so well. And then they break it with such good dialogue as, "Those are alpacas." That is my favorite. I want that tattooed in purple somewhere on my body with Nick Cage's outraged face of those are
Those are
alpacas.
alpacas.
I just like there's
Oh.
no reason that alpacas have to be in this movie except to see what they become. And I
Right?
love that they were just alpacas.
Right.
Why?
It's just an extra level of weird to this
And
dude.
it's so perfect.
And yeah, it's amazing. His young the daughter in the family being into all, like, she's a teenager, but she's into all this like Wiccan pagan sort of stuff, and you're like, oh, that's a neat little element. And then like that actually, as a horror movie, that pays off in this, because like you get to that point at the end where she's trying to do another one of her Wiccan whatever rituals, and she's like carving glyphs and sigils into her body with a fucking box cutter. Oh my god! It just, and I wouldn't say it's a slow burn, but it builds at a really great pace. It just keeps layering and layering on. I
kept thinking it was over, or like this has to be like the end.
You got to be getting close to the end. Oh nope,
it just keeps going.
Yeah,
oh my god.
Right, and then when they finally like unveil the real scope of it, and how this is like the beginning of possibly the complete end of the planet, because this is a creature that just devours worlds. It's like oh Jesus, they really fucking went off the deep end. One of my favorite, I don't know that this was deliberate, but I have to believe it was, and it's one of the things I love so much about the direction of this movie. So in the movie and in the story, this presence, this whatever it is, this entity from outer space, in the story especially, it's talked about as just the color. There's just this weird tint or color that is slightly visible if the light hits it just right, that's just in the air, and a presence. And what I love is they represent the color in this movie with this super aggressive fluorescent neon sort of pink purple color scheme. And what I love about that is it's an element that's been going, or it's a thing that popped up in pop culture recently, and like it was going around social media and whatnot, but it's this idea that pink and pink tone colors don't actually exist in the visible light spectrum. Right? There are no, like, it's a weird color, almost optical illusion that our brains make, and I have to believe that's why they went with that color, right? Is because of that idea that this isn't actually a color that exists naturally. And I don't know, that maybe I've rambled too much about it and gotten really deep and bored a whole bunch of people, but I loved that decision. I thought that was such a great choice for this movie.
I also had a note about the color, because aside from that, which yes, I've heard that too, that it's not really something that exists. The way that they portray color in this movie is brilliant, because for one, you see it slowly devouring the world and showing up in more and more places and turning things purple. And the color that they chose is such an unnatural color that when you see the trees becoming that color, and it almost like it gave me the impression that if they were able to capture it, the color that these people are seeing would be a new color that they have never seen before, and like they never comment on that.
That's basically the description from the original story. Is it was a color that they couldn't. I can't tell you what the color is because I've never seen this color before.
Exactly, and then they use the line, "It's just a color, but it burns." Yeah. And that just like it hits me so hard of like, I obviously cannot fathom a color I have not seen before.
Right.
And these people are living in this nightmare universe where they, like, the daughter just watched her brother get fused to the mom and they were going to kill her, and all this crazy stuff is happening. Meanwhile, she's seeing things she's never seen before, and it's taking over the world. And that is so terrifying, and they do it so well. It's not just like this thing crash lands and now everything's purple. It is this slow, like as things build, you're seeing more and more, and it becomes this
Right.
almost like beautiful but horrifying world.
Right, and it doesn't. What I like about again the use of that color in the in the film is it doesn't ever like completely overtake things, except in a few very specific moments where the color, the presence itself, is obviously very active and very aggressive. But like it just becomes like this almost subliminal like purple pink tint that blends in with the other colors. And again, if the light catches like the leaves of the tree just right, they have this, there's this weird purple pink shimmer that you can, and the way it slowly creeps into everything, it just layers on layers of what you said earlier about how like you're watching these people and you know that they are fucking screwed, and there's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing they would have been able to do about it, because ultimately my impression of it, I think, is by the time the meteor got to Earth, it was already too late. Like, shit was gonna be bad, and there's nothing anybody could have done to stop it. So when we come into the movie, sorry kids, it's just all downhill from here, and it gets fucked. Like, it's one of those movies where fucking everybody dies. Like, it's I also really like.
I was gonna say. Okay, what were you gonna say? Because I was gonna say.
I was gonna move on to a thing about the color and how it ends. But I also was like, well, technically the guy, the scientist, didn't die.
That's what I wanted to say is adding him as a character is brilliant because he's not losing his mind. He knows what's going on. He's not drinking the water, so you have this observer.
Right, well,
you're not brought in with the rest of them.
He's the audience's avatar, right?
Exactly,
like he's us.
Him.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. He's our doorway into the story. I think something you were talking about earlier. I think in a lot of ways the story is framed from his perspective.
Yep.
Which is where a lot of that stuff comes from, where you're just sort of helplessly. Also, like that idea of being I think a lot of times being a well-educated or a trained scientist, maybe you can conceive of things that are a little bit scarier than other people because you just know about extra things. And so to watch him just be like, I have no idea what's happening and this is madness, and like that, to me, it just adds an extra level of Jesus, what's happening here. And I especially like the implication there at the end that the color burns and it's so intense and it's this devouring force, to the extent that after, when it does finally dissipate and leave, like it has extracted all color from everything where it was. Like everything is just this dusty white and black, and just very grayscale and monotonous. And I really liked that effect. It had a real sort of like hellish aftermath kind of quality. Just the whole implication in the last little speech about how it's like, man, I have no idea how far into the water system this thing got. It's probably in, like, again, because that's crucial to the movie, right? Is this meteorite has landed and started this infection right in an area that they're about to flood with a reservoir to be used for development, so it's like going to be basically a water supply basin, and now it's infected. Like, even those shots where they show you just the little traces of it in the water, it's just so well done. I love everything about Color Out of Space.
Yeah. If because I don't have a lot more to say about this movie, I do want to say that if people like this on kind of a different, kind of the same realm, just in how they do such a visual a good indication of like something taking over the land, I would recommend people watch Annihilation, starring Natalie Portman, because I got the same feeling of like how subtly things like sink in and become the world, and like it definitely gave me vibes from that movie.
You know, it's
So,
interesting that you mention Annihilation because I very literally just earlier today, May 25th, guys, keep in mind you're listening in October.
oh yeah, we didn't tell them. We didn't tell them.
Yeah, we did.
recorded
We
in May.
mentioned it.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Woo!
But just earlier today, I recorded an episode of my other podcast, All Screens Great and Small, where we talked about the film Men, which is written and directed by Alex Garland, who also wrote and directed Annihilation. And in that movie, or in that podcast, I make very clear that I have now seen Annihilation 3 times, and I'm still not sure I know what the hell that movie is about.
Oh,
It's very confusing. But no, I know what you mean, though, from the just that presence of that weird sort of... It's just a really unique design and execution. I've never seen a movie really that looks quite like this before. Super, super fun, really well done. I can't say enough good things about it. Clearly, neither can you. In fact, I struggled. I actually sat and thought, like, of trying to find even one criticism or negative thing to say about the film, and I can't think of a single one.
The alpacas could look cooler when they're merged together. That's my only criticism.
Oh, I guess I loved how just completely melted into a pile of goo they already were.
Yeah, I just mean like they are clearly not real alpacas. So I guess my only criticism could be like,
you could have murdered real alpacas and
yeah. No, it's just like it's such a ridiculous image that like it makes me laugh.
Oh, for sure.
So I mean that could be the only thing, because I was also trying to think like what's my criticism, and just like the alpacas look so stupid, but I love it so much. I'm just like
yeah, but
it's stupid and I love it.
That's the only that mother and child weird. John Carpenter's The Thing arachnid creature that they have to contend with at the end is just I think
and the way the kid can't even say anything, he's just like crying. Oh, my heart.
Oh, it's good stuff. Go see Color Out of Space, you guys, if you haven't seen it yet. Frankly, if you're still listening, I don't know why you haven't run off to see it. But it's a fabulous film. We've got another one of these Spooktobers coming up tomorrow. As you're listening to this, we're going to record it in about 5 minutes as we're sitting here.
In May. Nobody forget.
Don't forget. We've become obsessive talking about
We don't want you to think that we're ambitious. God forbid.
Never. What are we talking about tomorrow, Michelle?
We're talking about Scare Me, starring Aya Cash and the other guy who wrote, directed, and starred in it, and I just forgot his name.
His name is Josh Rubin.
Yeah, that guy.
Scare Me. That movie coming up on the next episode of We Watch Shudder. Go check out Color Out of Space as soon as possible. If you've already seen it, go see it again. It's really good. And we will talk to you again on the next episode. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.